I could probably think about 3 people, maybe more, who sent me this story. A lot of people were very interested in hearing what my thoughts are on this. More than anything, I want to share this baby story because I'm a concerned father, and I just hate that these things continue to keep happening from people who are caretakers, and they have these children for all the wrong reasons. They look to keep these kids, to use them, abuse them, not to love them and raise them and grow up and become something great. And that's got to stop. And we got to start seeing these people do maximum sentences in prison who hurt, murder, and abuse our kids. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And of course, one of my favorite sources for news is lawandcrime.com. Thank you so much for the article. Y'all might want to subscribe to their YouTube channel as well, because they are pushing out some amazing content. So shout out to Law and Crime, and I hope they never flag me for their content over here, because I just really, really love what they do. 3 Indiana adults, if you can even call them that, 3 of them, are facing a litany of criminal charges related to the death of this beautiful little angel. Let me see if I can get her face back up on the screen just for a second. Look at how small and innocent this baby is. And I bet you she was just so sweet. But she needed good parents, and she needed an advocate so bad. That's why if y'all see something wrong happening, you got to say something. Call CPS. I'd rather you call them and be wrong rather than something happen and nobody be there to report it. This baby needed every advocate she could have got. She was 5 years old, and her death was caused, and her final hours were spent cowering in a corner. Her too brief life was defined by abuse and squalor. So she was living in absolute filth, and I'm going to give you guys some details, so you might want to brace yourself if you're eating or got a weak stomach, but hear this baby story out. Kinsleigh Welty died the day after the Great North American Eclipse, which she did not even get to witness, according to court documents filed in the case. In a familiar cliche that intends to offer comfort after the fact about the most disturbing details, Kinsleigh never had a chance. On April the 9th, not that long ago, after 5:15 p.m., officers with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department arrived at a residence on Denver Drive in response to a report about an unresponsive child. The tiny girl immediately appeared to arriving officers to be malnourished. Y'all know that bothers me more than anything when people starve children. That is just freaking as cruel as it gets, among other things. But let me show y'all this. Why I say it's actually really cruel, because when you have this level of skin that is flapping all over the place underneath your neck, and then you have a neck underneath your neck, and your arms have arms, and your stomach has stomachs, right? And then you look at these 2 people here, like he actually looks like he's been starved too on the left-hand side of the screen, but he's an adult. He can survive on his own. Mom is not a small person. But this right here, man, I mean, goodness. Her cheeks have cheeks. Just goodness. And so for people who never missed a meal in their life and probably had a few too many, for them to starve children who can't speak for themselves nor defend themselves, I think is one of the worst things that you can do as far as cruelty to children. Okay? This baby was covered in bite marks, had feces in her hair and on her feet, and had head lice crawling on her face and head. Rushed to Riley Hospital for Children, she was, for a short time later, pronounced dead from malnutrition. At the time of her death, Kinsleigh weighed considerably less than what she did when she was 2 years old, according to court documents obtained by Indianapolis-based Fox affiliate WXIN. Kinsleigh's mother, by the name of Toni, Toni, Renee McClure, 29 years old, stands accused of 2 counts of murder, 1 count of neglect of a dependent resulting in death, battery on a person less than 14 years of age, and criminal confinement, Marion County jail records show. McClure's boyfriend, mom's boyfriend, hashtag mom's boyfriend, Ryan Smith, 27 years old, stands accused of 3 counts of neglect of a dependent resulting in death and 1 count of criminal confinement. How is it that we have this level, this many stories? Look at how funny he looks. I don't know what he looks like. He looks like one of those little Pez dispensers. The way his head is set up, like he look like if he just lean his head back, some candy gonna pop out of his neck. When I saw that picture, that was the first thing I thought of. He looks like a Pez dispenser, like one of them little whatever. Just man, that is an ugly ass boy. Just saying. But he's accused of 3 counts of neglect resulting in death, 1 count of criminal confinement. Kinsleigh's grandmother, that big turd I was showing y'all a minute ago, who's 53 years old, her name is Tammy Hasley, and stands accused of 1 count of neglect of a dependent resulting in death. Oh, sorry, not trying to be funny because it's a really sad story, but sometimes we gotta laugh because this stuff is really, really sad that's going on with these babies. And look at her beautiful little face, man. Just crazy. I want y'all to think about this. The circumstances of Kinsleigh's death are horrific and beyond comprehension, according to Indianapolis Police Chief Chris Bailey said in a statement. No human being, let alone a child, should be treated like she was. These alleged suspects, if convicted, should never step foot outside of prison. And I 100% agree with that. Prosecutors in the case, at least so far as Kinsleigh's mother is concerned, appear to be in agreement with the police chief. Let me see. I think I can skip some of this. She was allegedly confined to the same small closet for most of her torture-filled life. Wow. The mother took proactive steps to prevent this child from eating and did not provide proper nourishment. So the mother starved her. As for the closet, authorities said that it discovered it covered in feces with a dresser in the bedroom used to keep the door sealed to prevent this baby from getting out. Oh my goodness. Let me read this part. Authorities say that Smith admitted that Kinsleigh had been largely confined to the closet since Thanksgiving of 2023. Since then, Smith allegedly told investigators he realized the child had been losing weight but was afraid to do anything about the abuse because he did not want McClure, who he loves, to suffer any legal consequences. So they are choosing their own personal pleasures and caused the death of this baby. Hasley, the grandmother, also allegedly told police she knew about the timeline of the closet confinement regime and how the small child's prison was littered in feces. Additionally, Kinsleigh's grandmother said that she duct taped the girl to her bed once or twice when the girl stayed with her to stop Kinsleigh from getting up to eat or drink. That's the person that did that on the right-hand side of the screen, a person who has never not ate or drank. Isn't that something? The grandmother, Hasley, allegedly went on to say that she realized her granddaughter was deteriorating and considered calling authorities, but was afraid McClure would lose custody of her other children and wanted to give her daughter an opportunity to fix things. The last time the girl looked completely normal was October 2023, so it sounds like this little girl was probably had with a different biological father outside of her other children, but I don't know how many other children she has. According to police, McClure admittedly kept the girl in a closet and had trouble feeding her despite frequent complaints of hunger. Every single adult let that child down, Mears told the Star. Let's see. McClure had been in trouble with the law before. She was charged with neglect in December 2018 for her treatment of Kinsleigh. Back then, the house was in a state of filth, so she never should have had this kid. It appeared the trash had never been taken out, one responding officer wrote in a years-old document obtained by WXIN. Gnats were flying all over the kitchen and living room. That is freaking disgusting. Later, the girl's mother pled guilty to 1 count of neglect and got 400 days of probation. For years, the Indiana Department of Children's Services investigated the living situation, allegedly having trouble locating the mother and her now deceased child as of late. Kinsleigh's paternal grandparents, Tricia Welty and Brian Welty, had custody of the girl before she died, according to Indianapolis ABC affiliate WRTV. But they could not hang on to her. Each time, child welfare authorities end up ushering Kinsleigh back into McClure's custody. So essentially, they kept giving her back to the wrong people. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute. A GoFundMe was started by Kinsleigh's great aunt for funeral expenses. And I told you guys, stop donating to those kind of GoFundMes. Let me see if I can show you a picture of where that GoFundMe stands right now, which is right here. So the last time I checked, they were asking for $5,000 and they were able to collect $6,600 plus. When you have these situations, the state will normally cover funeral expenses. So why the hell do people keep donating to these GoFundMes? And why does GoFundMe keep giving these people the funds for a dead child that is being covered by the state to take care of the burial expenses? I don't get how that's even a legal thing to do, to collect benefits off of a dead child, but I digress. That's just really sad. Let me give you guys a fair usage. I'm going to show you guys a couple of news videos. Just read the rest of the article from lawandcrime.com. It's just crazy. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Again, I remind you guys, GoFundMe should be donated to life and not death. More times than none, people are using GoFundMe for the wrong reasons, but that's my personal opinion. When you have children you can support while they're alive, let's do that. We got people over in the AFC that have GoFundMes that want you guys to support it. Links in the description box. Check that out. But do me a favor, hit that thumbs up. The more people hit the thumbs up, we will absolutely start giving away free channel memberships to the AFC. So make sure you guys support what we're trying to do, okay? Here we go.
Well, now this is 5-year-old Kinsleigh Welty. Today, members of her family were in court for a hearing on her death. When she died last week, investigators say she was severely malnourished. Today, Kinsleigh's mother and her mother's boyfriend both made their first court appearances, and WRTV's Rachel Wilkerson was there for those hearings, and you join us now. What's the latest?
Well, Nicole, Kinsleigh's mother, Tony McClure, could face life in prison. The Marion County prosecutor says she's charged with her daughter's murder because of the prolonged neglect to the 5-year-old. The mother's boyfriend is formally charged with 3 counts of neglect resulting in death. But tonight, we're learning more about Kinsleigh's grandmother. The prosecutor's office claims she was involved with some of the decisions regarding how Kinsleigh was treated.
What we are alleging here is that Grandma had prolonged periods of contact with this child, was in a position to help this child.
5-year-old Kinsleigh Welty was laid to rest today. The Marion County Prosecutor's Office believes she died of starvation and dehydration after she was found unresponsive last week at a Southwest Side home in Indianapolis. Her mother, Toni McClure, grandmother, and McClure's boyfriend are accused of playing a role in her death. Today, they appeared in court for the first time. Anything that you can say regarding this case?
No questions. There was a lot of conversation between both mom and grandma about what was going on with this child and what was the best way to deal with some of these issues. And I think that's the part that's so disheartening, is that nobody stepped in and said, this child needs help. What can we do to try to help this child? And the thing that you consistently see and hear in these conversations is people are concerned about their own well-being. Well, I might get in trouble if someone is aware of this.
Prosecutor Ryan Mears say they were in a position to help Kinsleigh, but didn't. Investigators say the little girl was locked in a closet while denied proper food and water. That suffering, the prosecutor's office says, led to her death. Investigators noted the closet also had feces on the door and clothing inside. Mears says more people could be held accountable. That investigation includes the Department of Child Services.
DCS was at the house the day that this child passed away. And they were not aware, or when they made that house visit, they certainly didn't uncover or appreciate what was going on inside the house. And so I think that poses a lot of questions for us as a prosecutor's office in terms of what systems were in place. Did those systems necessarily protect that child, and then what can be done in the future?
Today, DCS commented on Kinsleigh's death, saying its top priority is child safety. We are always saddened when a child tragedy occurs and partner with stakeholders from across the state to thoroughly investigate all child deaths in Indiana that involve abuse or neglect.
McClure's boyfriend.
His mother and her boyfriend are in jail this evening following the death of a 5-year-old girl on the city's southwest side. Fox 59's Jesse Wells read the court records today and spoke to the victim's family about the gruesome allegations.
According to court records, the victim's mother initially tried to blame the father for the abuse suffered inside this home, but when that story quickly fell apart, the suspect allegedly admitted she knew she was treating her daughter wrong, but simply didn't care. Inside this mobile home on Denver Drive, IMPD officers were called Tuesday night to investigate a deadly case of child abuse and found 5-year-old Kinsleigh Welty severely malnourished. That little girl died a short time later after being taken to Riley Hospital.
It's horrific. It's going to obviously be a memory in my mind for the rest of my life that I'll never be able to shake, that my granddaughter starved to death. And it very easily could have been avoided. Brian Welty, who cared for Kinsleigh when these pictures were taken before she was returned to her mother's custody, was devastated to hear about the poor conditions his granddaughter was forced to endure. Inside the home, police claim they found a small closet covered in fecal matter where the girl was forced to spend most of her time. According to court records, the child's mother, Toni McClure, admitted she did the bare minimum to feed her daughter, who often complained she was hungry. McClure even confessed she feared her actions would eventually lead to her daughter's death. She's a wicked woman, is all I can say.
This poor little girl had no chance whatsoever. She had a parent who, well, she wasn't a parent, she was a monster who failed her in every way.
Police also claim the mother's boyfriend, Ryan Smith, admitted the victim had been kept in the closet since Thanksgiving and was rarely allowed out. Smith said he was concerned the girl was losing weight, but didn't want to call 911 because he loved the girl's mother.
It's devastating. I wouldn't even treat my dog that way.
No child or human being should be treated the way she was.
For their part, IMPD reminds everyone to speak up anytime they suspect a child is being abused or neglected.
And that the community has to step forward and reach us, help these children who have no voice.
Finally, because she was arrested for murder, McClure is being held without bond pending the filing of formal charges. Jesse Wells, Fox 59 News.
Now, sadly, this isn't the first time Toni McClure has had run-ins with police because of her lack of care for her children.
Yeah, court documents from 2018 show Mooresville police found Toni and multiple children living in squalor. Fox 59's Eric Graves dove into that earlier incident to piece together what led to Kinsleigh Welty's death, and he joins us now live in studio. Eric, what have you learned?
Dan, Mooresville police showed up to this apartment complex in 2018, finding terrible conditions and multiple kids living in one unit. At the time, Kinsleigh was a newborn. Court docs mention a 3-week-old, which authorities and family have confirmed to us was Kinsleigh. She and another child were found with full diapers. The children were dirty and in an apartment filled with trash and cigarette butts on the floor. Police described it as one of the worst living conditions they'd ever seen. The children were eventually taken to the hospital, and doctors said Kinsleigh was already malnourished and had even lost weight. We talked to Detective Lindsay Hayden with the Mooresville police today. She responded to the apartment that day in 2018, comforting the children and even going out to get items like food that they needed but that couldn't be found in the home.
We went and purchased diapers, snacks, and some water for the child so we can mix formula. She was very hungry and definitely she took the formula in fairly quickly.
Documents say the children were taken to a foster home after getting checked out at the hospital. Over the next few years, it appears Kinsleigh was cared for by foster parents and relatives, but did eventually end up back with her mother, leading to her death this week. Coming up on Fox 59 News at 6, we'll hear from Kinsleigh's family, who say the system failed this little girl.
Let's talk about that. Did the system fail this little girl? Did the system, is this the system's fault? Or is this the biological mother and biological father's fault for not having a proper plan in place for raising this child properly? We have to stop blaming the system. The system is a fail-safe in order to try to help protect these children, especially when people are going to flat out be irresponsible. At the end of the day, we have to start putting the onus on family members and the people who brought these children into this world, mother and father. That's where it starts. At that point, you just have to start holding everybody accountable for the things that they did wrong. But to sit there and blame the system, yes, the system fails, but the system can't raise these kids. The system is imperfect. The system is flawed. The system is run by people who have flawed mentalities, flawed work behavior, flawed integrity, if I might say. And you guys can check out, I have a documentary on my channel. Shout out to Dana Brockaway from the NAACP. Make sure you guys support our documentary on our channel. It's doing fairly well, and I think a lot of people have seen it, but I want the world to be able to see it and understand that we just have to avoid this system at all costs, which means that the family needs to raise these children, not the system. Okay? Now, I've also heard people ask this question. Is the system wrong for rushing to say that they want to try to put these children back with family members, with the original family members, with the parents? And I think that that's ultimately what you want, but you still have to use judgment, and each case is unique. You can't just look across the board and say, yes, we want to make sure and put these children back in the homes that they came from. Eventually, that's what our goals should be. Or you can't just flat out say that all these children need to be in the system. Like that, it should always be on a case-by-case basis. That's my opinion about that. Let me know what you guys think. To this baby, I don't understand how you can look at her face. And let me see if I can get my favorite picture of her up here. Look at that face. Why would you not want to take care of her? AFC, why would we not want to take care of her? Look at her. Such a precious doll, such a precious angel. Kinsleigh Princess, R.I.P. Thank you for listening to Kinsleigh's story. I know it's gut-wrenching, but we have to start advocating for justice and make these parents be responsible for the things that they did wrong. To the fullest extent, everybody needs to be held accountable. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, okay? Thank you.